This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 meeting of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. I'd like to note that for the record that all 5 commissioners are present in person this evening. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to note that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted on the Township website for public access. At this time, I'd like to ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public and virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you'll have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. The meeting packet with all meeting materials to be reviewed by the board for tonight's meeting was posted on the Township website in the afternoon of Friday, April 10th, and is available on the Township website under the Events and Agendas section. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce that the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session prior to this evening's Board of Commissioners meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Agenda item 4, courtesy of the floor. This is the first of 2 opportunities for members of the public to offer comment to the board on non-agenda items. When I call on you, please approach the podium, provide us with your name and address, and you may then begin your 5 minutes. Members here who wish to address the board. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just make sure it's on for us. Thank you. Until it's green.
Okay.
There you go. You may begin.
Hi, everyone. One of the most critical, sorry about Julie Thomasis, 4127 Shoemaker Place, South Whitehall. One of the most critical data center generated pollutants is fine particulate emissions, known as PM 2.5, particulate material 2.5 micrometers or less in diameter. Project Atlas will generate considerable PM 2.5 from its diesel generators. PM 2.5 particles can travel deep into the respiratory tract and lungs. Short-term effects of PM 2.5 exposure include eye, nose, and throat irritation, irregular heartbeat, asthma attacks, coughing, chest tightness, and shortness of breath. Long-term effects include respiratory illnesses such as bronchitis, asthma, emphysema, lung tissue damage, cancer, heart attack, stroke, and premature death. PM 2.5 emissions are especially dangerous because the particles are extremely light and can be carried long distances. PM 2.5 generated by Project Atlas will negatively impact the entire Lehigh Valley and beyond. The average PM 2.5 concentration in the Allentown area is currently 9 micrograms per cubic meter, which is the maximum average level EPA allows in order to protect public health, and about twice the World Health Organization recommended level of 5.0 microgram per cubic meter. When the hundreds of Project Atlas diesel generators are running, the PM 2.5 levels in the area will be high enough so that it is dangerous for people with respiratory illnesses to be outdoors. Right now, around the country, permitting decisions for data centers are being made without any clear accounting of their public health costs. And that gap means health damages are systematically left out of these important decisions. Independent, science-based health impact analysis is a way to close that gap and bring these costs into decision-making. Specialty consultants can evaluate the public health and economic impacts of PM 2.5, and I urge the commissioners to engage such a consultant to assess this as yet unaddressed outcome of Project Atlas. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
I want to thank Dan Pereski, 4127 Shoemaker in South Whitehall. I want to just thank everyone for allowing us to make these comments and to provide you with some information that hopefully you'll find useful. Tonight, I want to talk about the heat impact of this proposed data center. And I'm really concerned about it, obviously. A recently released study from the Earth Observation Group at the University of Cambridge has shown that the hyperscale data centers, such as Project Atlas, create what are known as heat islands, warming the land around them by up to 16 degrees. That's a high end, but definitely warming the area around it to some extent, always, and all of them. The study focused on more than 6,000 data centers located away from highly dense urban areas. Surface temperatures around these are less likely to be affected by other factors such as manufacturing or home heating. The researchers also filtered out seasonal impacts and warming trends when analyzing their data. The study found that surface temperatures increased by an average of 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit after a data center started operations. In extreme cases, nearby temperatures increased by up to 16 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature increases were consistent globally, and the impacts were not limited to a data center's immediate surroundings. Temperature increases affected, and the temperature increases were affected regions up to 6 miles away. You know it's been warm out, all right? So we're already in the middle of April where the temperatures should be in the mid-70s. We're having summer heat now, all right? Think about that. It's going to get a whole lot warmer just because of global warming, because of the climate, because of that's what's been going on for the past many years. Summers get very hot. Within that 6.2 mile radius, residences, schools, and businesses were going to be running their air conditioners a whole lot more, not just because of global warming, but now because of the increase in heat generated by the data centers. The other thing I want to mention is most data centers are water cooled. All right. This one is not going to be water cooled. It's going to be using air conditioners, heat pumps, and fans. Water uses less electricity to run through the data center than air conditioners do. So these average numbers, they're average, but we can expect the heat to even be greater because of the additional electricity, which generates heat, and blowing that heat out instead of bringing it into water, we're going to be blowing it out into everybody's backyard and for miles. It's also important to remember that the emissions from the diesel backup generators will also contribute, as said before, to poor air quality and, of course, more rapid global warming. So I believe Barbara handed you her report, which has a lot in it about the heat island effect. Please take notice of that and your considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pereski. And before I move on, I will just provide the public with an update as much as I'm able, and especially if there's members of the public here who haven't attended in the past. The Project Atlas, again, was slated to be on the February Planning Commission agenda. The applicant pulled it from that agenda. It may or may not come back before the Planning Commission. Public will have the appropriate notice. We have no indication yet of when that may be, if it happens at all. I will say, though, to the point about Mr. Presky, you brought up the board hearing your comments and suggestions. If that plan were to come back and it were altered in a way or changed or tried to be more compliant with our rules, it would undergo an equally rigorous review from the township, incorporating not just all the considerations that went into place when it was reviewed the first time, but also concerns that have been raised with the township in the interim period from folks like yourselves, and as well as the others who have emailed the board or talked to staff. So we do thank you for that, and please know that you're being heard, and should another review be required, if this does come back before the township, that your concerns are well noted and valued. So thank you. Ma'am, yes.
Hi, my name is Alice Lenthy, 4126 Shoemaker Place. Today, while I was reviewing the most recent issue of the Pennsylvania Bulletin, which was dated April 11th, this past Saturday, I found a notice of intent to remediate the Project Atlas site submitted by Kimley Horn, the Project Atlas engineers, in accordance with the DEP Brownfields program. This notice indicates that the application was submitted on March 30th to DEP, and that the required notice of application was published in the Morning Call on March 18th, indicating that it was submitted to the paper at least 2 weeks before the application was submitted to DEP. By statute, the public comment period on this application begins on the date of newspaper publication, which means that it closes this coming Saturday, April 18th. It's a 30-day comment period. So, because not all of us are reading the classified section of the Morning Call every day, we now have 1 week to review this application and submit comments. Essentially, we are unable to comment. I called Kimley Horn today. In fact, I called 3 of their Pennsylvania offices, including the one listed in the published notice. I only talked to an answering machine that did not give the opportunity to ask for a specific individual, so I was unable to get additional information about this application. In my work, I have submitted numerous applications to DEP, and I was frequently required to complete public notices such as this one. But in over 40 years, I have never seen a public notice submitted so far in advance of the application itself. It looks like the applicant is trying to manipulate the time frame to preclude public comment. The public notice indicates that South Whitehall Township may submit a request to Edged Energy, the presumed operator of the Project Atlas data center, to develop and implement a public involvement plan. The deadline for making this request was April 10th. Did the township submit that request?
The township did submit that request.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. But all of this makes me feel that we're not being informed regarding what's going on with Project Atlas. I continue to be concerned about the ease of availability of data center related information. For someone who is not familiar with any information about the data center proposal, it is very difficult to find it on the township website. The beta testing of the land development viewer is a baby step. When landing on the township website, it's not obvious that this tool is the place to go for data center information. But if a newcomer does click on that and knows to click on the proper location on the map that comes up, she or he will see a densely packed text box with the phrase, "See meeting links for application and packet materials" at the bottom. Then the newcomer will need to figure out where to find the application and packet materials, which is probably not apparent to someone who has not already been involved in the project. Based on the enormity of Project Atlas and its potential impact on the township, I suggest that a link to getting the information should be prominently displayed and easily found. How about a data center box at the top of the news section or a banner at the top of the homepage itself? Clicking on that could lead a person directly to all of the data center related materials. I appreciate the final rollout of the land development viewer, but we need more and we need it now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, we'll certainly continue to work and see if there are any additional opportunities, like you mentioned, to make the information more readily available and accessible, sort of a one-stop shop for data center related. I will say, in general, all of the information that is available once a member of the public does navigate to that link, is all the information we have. So we'll try to keep working towards future opportunities from an information gap standpoint. The public board has all the same information the public has, and we do understand the need to make that clear. So thank you. Any other members of the public who wish to address the board? Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Sussman.
All right, Greg Sussman, 3010 Victoria Lane. Mr. Roth, you indicated that if the developer resubmitted an updated plan with a significant enough change, it would need to go through, for your words, a stringent review, again, by the township. Is it the position of the township that an updated plan that addressed the 101-page comment letter that the township provided the developer would represent a significant enough change to trigger that stringent review and a full reset of the review process?
A stringent review will occur regardless of what is submitted, right? So they could change one line on the plan and it wouldn't matter. We're still going to conduct a stringent review of what is submitted.
Does that include would that include a full re-review of the
Yes.
plan?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Each time a new submission, and we see this happen with all projects, not as with as much public interest as this project before, but every time something gets resubmitted to the Planning Commission, staff starts from scratch and goes through everything and checks off all the boxes all over again to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's on everything.
Has the township been provided any idea as to when the developer might resubmit?
Possibly May, in time for a June Planning Commission, but there's no confirmation of that at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Sussman. Yes, ma'am, in the front row. Just your name and address before you begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maha Yunus, and I live on 2927 Orfield Road. I have lived here for over 10 years, and today is my first day attending a meeting. I am here tonight not as an expert, but I am here as a homeowner, a taxpayer, and a parent who is deeply concerned about what this project will do to our community. I want to focus on something very simple. What happens to the people who already live here? Because right now, it feels like that question has been forgotten. I would like to talk about a few concerns. One of them is the property value. People like me chose to live here for a reason. This is a residential community with families, schools, and homes, many worth millions of dollars. And now directly next to those homes, we are proposing one of the largest data centers in the country. You cannot seriously expect anyone to believe that putting a massive data center in a residential neighborhood will not affect property values. Not only will this project prevent new people from moving into the area, but we won't be able to sell our homes. Would any of you buy a home next to this? Would you raise your children there? Because that is the reality that being imposed on us. Next thing I would like to talk about is the noise. Data centers are not silent. They operate 24/7. One large data center has noise that travels up to 3 miles, which means this will not only be heard by Parkland High School, but will be also heard by Ironton, Orfield, Kratzer, and all of Whitehall School District. Data centers produce sounds up to 96 decibels. That is dangerous to human health. In your memo to CDE, it was mentioned that you cannot guarantee that it will always run at 55 decibels. It won't just be construction noise, this is permanent. There are families living nearby, there are children trying to sleep, and there are students going to school right across the street. Next thing I'd like to talk about pollution, light pollution. This facility will operate continuously. That means lighting all night, every night. For nearby residents like me, this is not a small issue. It affects sleep, quality of life, and even long-term health. We are turning dark, quiet nights into industrial environments. And finally, the most important point, this is about trust. This process has shown us that this township has failed to protect us. Right now, residents are feeling unheard uninformed, and unsafe. This project should never happen. And honestly, no one in their right mind would allow this. So I would leave you with this. If this project was proposed next to your home, next to your children's school, in your neighborhood, would you feel safe and protected? Or would you feel like something has gone very wrong? Because right now, this is exactly how we feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eunice. And we'd welcome you, I know this is your first meeting, but we would welcome you to attend any of our public meetings at any time. So you're very welcome. Anybody else here this evening? Sir, in the front row? And just your name and address before you begin.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Eunice, and I live at 2927 Orfield Road, and thank you for your time. Tonight, I'm going to share some thoughts and concerns about Atlas as well. I'm going to start with what I believe is one of the most serious problems, which is the lack of communication. There are far too many people who don't know about this project. Atlas is being proposed at the intersection of 3 townships and in the middle of 2 school districts. Every single student, parent, and faculty of Parkland and Whitehall school districts should have been made aware of this project by now, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Catastrophe is literally on our doorstep, but it doesn't seem that anybody's talking about it. And I'll take this a step further. There is currently geological testing being performed 25 feet from my property, but we were never informed about it. We assumed that they were drilling and testing wells, but if that really isn't the case, why are we being left in the dark? When you have a project that's going to negatively affect thousands of people, you can't just post something on your website and expect it to be enough. In fact, we've learned more about this project from our neighbors than from you guys. Imagine, your residents are more effective at educating people about this project than you guys. What does that say about the leadership of this township? And to be completely honest, the very existence of this project reveals deeper problems with this township. It shows us that the residents of the city of Allentown are not adequately protected from outside corporations. And I say that because corporations that construct data centers specifically target areas that don't have strong regulations. They go to places where oversight is the weakest and where resistance is the least organized. So I have to ask, why did the township allow itself to be seen as an easy target? The next thing I need to talk about is the PERT ordinance. As much as I appreciate the time and effort that went into constructing it, PERT doesn't do enough to protect anybody. You can put as many restrictions on this area as you want, but that doesn't change the fact that choosing this location was irresponsible and that Parkland High School is still across the street. Would you guys feel safe having this thing in your backyard? Would you feel safe knowing that your kid was going to school at an industrial site? Would you feel that your township did everything possible to protect you and your family? I'll assume the answer is no. When you take the time to actually read through the ordinance and look at the big picture, a lot of questions come to mind that I have to ask. Why does the PERT ordinance appear to specifically allow for Project Atlas? And why wasn't this land rezoned before an application was submitted? And why didn't the township take more preemptive action to protect its residents and the residents of neighboring townships? I always thought that living next to a high school meant that we would be safe from projects like this, because nobody in the right mind would construct one of the largest data centers in the country next to a high school. But I guess I was the fool for believing that the township would do right by its residents. The last thing I need to bring up is that at the previous Planning Commission meeting, one of the members of the board said, and I quote, "The only way the data center doesn't happen is if the data center decides they don't want to have it." Statements like that coming directly from the board are incredibly concerning. When that kind of message is being sent out, it becomes very difficult to trust that the township will actually fight for the people it's supposed to represent. Statements like that suggest that this project is inevitable, and that no matter how much of a risk it poses, the outcome has already been decided. And if that's the case, then the township has failed its responsibility to protect its residents. And I'm going to leave you guys with this. This project will set multiple precedents. It will tell the residents of multiple townships that their quality of life is secondary to the interests of giant corporations. It will tell residents that the township will not preserve land even if they pay taxes for it. It will tell residents that the township is okay with constructing projects at the expense of thousands of children. We all not only expected better, but we also deserve better. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yunus. Any other members of the public this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Doug Wombold of 3301 Congress Street in South Whitehall. I'm a retired project manager for a local company that supplies liquid hydrogen and liquid helium process production equipment worldwide. I support commercial development and the opportunity it brings our community when quality of life considerations are respected and the economic benefit is equitable. The proposed data center in our township, however, raises questions about meeting those requirements. My comments are based upon the impact study prepared by ESI Incorporated for the proposed Atlas data center, which I found on the website. Economic impact. The total investment for the proposed data center is estimated at $9 billion, with $99.5 million generated annually for South Whitehall Township. Additional financial benefits for Lehigh County and the state of Pennsylvania are modeled, but not specific. What is not addressed is the value of the product produced by the data center. This project demands significant resources from our community, including land, electrical power, and water, while most of the financial benefit derived from those resources does not benefit our community. The market value of the product created by the data center must be much greater than the estimated benefit to South Whitehall Township to justify the $9 billion investment. There is no obvious need to build the data center at the proposed location. Unlike warehouses, which many people also find annoying, we can at least understand the need to move products around and the locale close to roadways. The data center does not have any such requirement. And it seems inconceivable that virgin agriculture land is the logical place to put one of these installations. Regarding the impact to traffic, I have lived in South Whitehall since December of 1992. Since then, the aggregate development in the valley with individual projects claiming minimal impact on our community has now made many of our roadways congested and even dangerous throughout the day. Specifically, Route 22 from the airport to the Turnpike, I-78 where it is merged with Route 309, and Cedar Crest Boulevard from I-78 to Walbert Avenue are highly congested and prone to accidents throughout the day. Slow-moving trucks on Cedar Crest Boulevard, which will be the standard if this construction goes through, will greatly impact traffic at intersections frequently used by emergency vehicles, including our fire trucks and ambulances. I live near there. I hear the sirens go all day long with the ambulances attending to, and the police attending to the accidents on our highways. Impact on resources. The demands that data centers place on water and electricity are well documented. It belies credulity that we have spare capacity available for such large increases in demand for these resources. What safeguards will in place to guarantee that the costs of these additional demands are borne by the data center and not distributed to the residents of the township? Especially the electrical power, I don't know how PPL will do it, but it'll take a lot. We obviously don't have that amount of capacity ready to turn on at a moment's notice. Impact on the environment. Backup, as other people have said here tonight, backup diesel generators will operate at the data center when utility electrical supply is interrupted. Similarly to what has happened with local roadway traffic congestion, the air quality in the valley has declined with an increasing number of days labeled as unhealthy. That data is readily available if you look for it. The data center places numerous oil-fired generators across the road from Parkland High School. Does that make sense? The impact study states that the zoning for the land proposed for the data center permits the construction of facilities that produce chemicals and explosives. Would we be obligated to build such process plants across the street from our school as well? Seriously, it does say explosives in there. I have a hard time believing that would be part of our zoning approvals. So the conclusions I reached are the benefits of this data center project are not commensurate with the required resources and the potential degradation of and risks to our community. There are currently 3 data center locations under consideration in the greater Lehigh Valley. Ours in South Whitehall, one in Mount Bethel, and for the former headquarters of Air Products. Are we going to continue to say that, taken together, There will be no appreciable impact to the quality of life in our community by these projects. Is this the future we want for our community? Thank you for our consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Lombold. Any other members of the public? Yes, sir. Your name and address, and then you may begin.
Greetings. My name is Timothy Schmoyer. My address is 4123 Roosevelt Street in Whitehall, and I did wait till all of your residents were able to speak before I did. I represent Fellowship Community as the chairman of the board. Many of our staff and the families of our residents live in Whitehall Township, or South Whitehall Township. As well, I'm pastor of Whitehall Bible Fellowship Church, and many of my congregants live in South Whitehall Township. The Board of Directors and the administration of Fellowship Community in Whitehall, Pennsylvania respectfully submit this letter in opposition to the proposed Project Atlas Data Center at 2493 North Cedar Crest Boulevard. Based on the information currently available, our concerns center on the potential impact this development may have on the health, well-being, and quality of life of our residents and the surrounding community. Reports from communities across our country indicate that large data centers can generate persistent noise pollution that extends well beyond their property boundaries. Of particular concern, the constant low-frequency hum or drone produced by cooling systems, backup power infrastructure. This type of noise is especially disruptive as low-frequency sounds travel long distances and are difficult to mitigate through traditional sound barriers. Our campus serves an aging population that is uniquely vulnerable to environmental stressors. While it is common for seniors to experience diminished sensitivity to higher frequency sounds, many retain their ability to hear low frequency noise. Prolonged exposure to such noise can interfere with sleep, increase anxiety, and diminish overall quality of life, outcomes that are especially troubling in a senior living environment. Because our property is only 600 yards from this proposed site, our residents would be among those most immediately and significantly affected. Residents living on the east side of Mock Chunk Road would be directly impacted by the operation of the facility. Additionally, our planned future growth on the west side of Mock Chunk Road could be adversely affected if prospective residents touring our campus are exposed to the persistent noise from the data center. Our residents' comfort, health, and peace of mind are our highest priorities, and these considerations outweigh any secondary benefits the project might offer. In addition to the noise concerns listed above, data centers are also known for significant demand for both power as well as water systems. With current understanding of the project and concerns being raised in other locations with regards to significant demand on utilities, we have two further concerns. Number one, increased utility costs caused by the facility disproportionately impacting our residents who are beyond their income earning years. And two, the potential for power generation being added to the project due to insufficient grid capacity, creating both noise and other pollution impacting our residents. Although Fellowship Community is not located within South Whitehall Township, we are a neighbor to the property of the proposed project, being only 600 yards away, placing our residents well within the zone of potential impact and giving us a strong and legitimate interest in the township's decision. Notably, this proposed data center would be situated between two of the community's most vulnerable populations, students at the Parkland High School to the west and seniors at Fellowship Community to the east. We respectfully urge the Township Commissioners to carefully consider the long-term implications of placing such an intensive industrial use between youth and elderly residents, and to prioritize the peace, the health, and the well-being of both ends of the age spectrum. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration of our concerns. Respectfully submitted, Timothy Schmoyer, Chairman of the Board, and Mary Kay McMahon, President and CEO. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Schmoyer. Any other members of the public? Yes, Chris, we have a comment online. Give a name and address of the individual.
Robert Gaynor, you may make your comment.
Thank you. Good evening to the board and all of those in the general audience. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Rob Gaynor. I'm a healthcare professional, a kidney doctor who's probably lived in South Whitehall for the last 34 years at 3604 Barrington Drive. I'm here as an individual who has deep-seated concerns regarding placing any AI data center in our township, but also echo the opinions of many of our residents who also share these concerns. In fact, we have a community gathering later this week to discuss these concerns. Now, to be clear, we are against AI centers or tech in general, but we are against AI data centers being placed in residential areas which compromise the health and well-being of its residents. The proposed Atlas data center would be one of only 3 others in the world that approach 5 million square feet or larger. 2 are in China and the 3rd is in the remote area of Nevada. This center would be unprecedented and untested for a suburban area. Facilities of this size do not typically require enormous uninterrupted power and water supply, often the equivalent of an entire city 24 hours a day. Because of the demand, they are often located in remote industrial regions where dedicated infrastructure already exists and far away from local populations to avoid noise exposure, like the center in Nevada. Placing a project of this magnitude in a suburban township introduces long-term infrastructure and public welfare risks. So I think our community concerns center around the health and welfare of our residents, infrastructure needs and the effect on our residents and local environment, traffic patterns and congestion, financial issues, and the effect of attractiveness and allure of our great township. So some facts and figures to highlight this. Regarding health and welfare, because of toxic environmental discharges and pollutants from data centers, increased traffic patterns and water discharge, significant healthcare concerns exist. These pollutants include nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, and hydrocarbons, among others. So asthma, as an example, affects 1 in 9 adults in South Whitehall, higher than both the Pennsylvania and US averages, and the Lehigh Valley consistently ranks among the nation's worst regions for asthma severity and emergency care needs and hospitalization. The aforementioned pollutants are also associated, in addition to worsening asthma, with other disease such as cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart attack, high blood pressure, chronic kidney disease. Additionally, our cancer rates are higher in South Whitehall, so these pollutants pose a significant concern in that regard. Lehigh County has moderate pollution status, concentrations higher than Pennsylvania, US, regarding particulate matter. Regarding noise, because of the need for massive fans, as has been alluded to, the center could emit 85 decibels or higher. That's a level that's known to hurt in hearing, and this is for miles. Water relies on finite water sources. In fact, Lehigh County is currently under a drought alert and South Whitehall under a drought warning. These finite water sources serve vital functions such as healthcare facilities, fire protection, etc. This center approximates 5 million gallons per day. That's 1 to 1.8 billion gallons per year. It's really mind-staggering. This creates significant vulnerability during drought emergency conditions. Electric power draw is estimated at 250 to 500 megawatts. For context, 500 megawatts continuous use uses as much electricity as 350,000 homes. South Whitehall has, I believe, 8 to 12,000 homes. Grid upgrades are socialized. Transmission distribution costs are spread across all customers, even if one customer calls the upgrade. So electric expense will go up. Traffic and congestion. Ridge Farms is estimated to add 1,200 trips per day to an already very busy corridor. And based on the Institute of Transport Engineers AI Center traffic volume, the AI Center would add 3,000 to 5,000 trips per day. And of course, this significantly contributes to pollution. Financial, as well as water and electric bills would increase significantly. Sometimes we don't talk about property values, as alluded to, for most of us, this is our major investment in our life. And then the allure and charm. Many of us move from big cities because of the sereneness and beautiful surroundings. Having an AI center and the industrialization that's taking place across the Lehigh Valley significantly decreases this. So not to be presumptuous, but I think Whitehall values a balanced tax base, employment density, and community serving development. AI centers will miss the mark on this. There's very few permanent workers. It offers limited multiplier effects. It seeks tax abatements. It's hard to repurpose. And it's often incompatible with future mixed use to residential development. Part of the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission's mission statement states they are.
Mr. Chair, I just want to let you know we're over the 5 minutes. So if you have any additional thoughts, I apologize.
Yeah,
But
20 seconds. 20 seconds. I'm sorry. I'm almost done. Is charged with promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the region. A facility this massive and with all the issues will miss the mark on this. So we're respectfully asking you to reject this proposal. Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Any other online comments, Chris?
That was the only comment in the box.
All right. Thank you very much. I would like, since we, before we move on to presentations, I do want to thank the residents who came out, particularly those who this is your first meeting. Please know you're always welcome to attend our public meetings and comment. The township will continuously look to update the ways we communicate information to the public. We strongly encourage residents to sign up for our e-newsletter. The most recent edition did have an overview of the land development process to try and make that process more understandable for as many members of the public as possible. And I know we had a big data center discussion as a public comment item a couple of weeks ago here. And for those of you who weren't here, basically here's where we're at in terms of what our approach is as a board. So the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code basically requires all townships to zone for data centers and provide for them. So the state has severely kneecapped our ability to say no entirely to these projects. What we can do, though, is take all of your concerns and vindicate them to the best of our ability within our legal limits, as we have been trying to do and will continue to do throughout this process if this project ever happens. So the township will certainly continue to take into consideration all of your concerns, and we'll use all the tools we have at our disposal to make sure your concerns are addressed and that you are heard. Something else which is a bit unique and outside of the realm of the township is, most under our system of government, land use power and the regulation of municipalities' power really does lie with the General Assembly in Harrisburg. And there are a number of pieces of legislation being proposed all over the place in Harrisburg right now, from on one end of the spectrum, basically usurping municipalities in their entirety from controlling data centers, to, on the other side, legislation that is targeted to place a multi-year moratorium on data centers statewide. So if you have strong feelings on those pieces of legislation or anything in between, I encourage you to contact Senators Miller, Coleman, and Representative Schlossberg to voice your opinions. Data centers are regulated at multiple levels of government. The township will do whatever it can to address concerns, but recognizing that there's another level of regulation here that needs to happen at the state level, and your voices are equally important to those individuals. So I encourage you to do that if you are so inclined. Moving on to agenda item 5, presentations. We have the 2026-2027 South Whitehall Environmental Advisory Council Work Plan. And I would like to ask our long-range planner, Chris Stroller, to please present this important agenda item.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. At a previous meeting, we presented on the EAC's annual report, highlighting some of the work that they had accomplished over the past year. I'm pleased to announce that For the first time, we have a full complement of all 7 members on the EAC starting this year. We had previously prepared a work plan to take some of the identified duties of the EAC within the EAC ordinance and apply those to real projects and give more context to what work the EAC will be working on within the next couple of years. The EAC work plan that's presented tonight highlights the work over 2026 and 2027. The previous work plan covered the 2 years before that. If you look at the work plan in your packet, we really focus a lot of the goals and actions on 5 major components of the for the next 2 years, 1 being community outreach, 2 open space preservation, 3 ordinances and policies, 4 waste management, and 5 active transportation. Unless there's specific questions about some of the information in there, really just a highlight for community outreach is on expanding partnerships with other community entities. And then as far as open space preservation, really putting into place the open space referendum and identifying some of the mapping and key priorities for properties to be protected, and working with other staff departments on open space management of existing properties that we have. Ordinances and policies, taking a lot of the work put in from the South Whitehall Landscapes Plan to update some of the township's ordinances and policies related to natural resource management and protection. Along with that, looking at updating the township official map and preparing the Environmental Advisory Council to review potential land development plans. As far as waste management, it's continuing to reach out to our waste management hauler, JP Mascaro, and learn more about their process and continue to promote some of the ways that the community can recycle and reuse materials, and conduct additional outreach on that. And finally, active transportation, building off of the township's active transportation plan, applying some of those principles to connections to open spaces, encouraging less vehicular use, and considering these policies in any other township-led programs or initiatives. So the work plan is in your packet. The EAC is excited to have some direction with, again, the full complement of 7 members. And unless there's any other questions, this is just for information for the board. And this work plan will be posted on the township website under the EAC page, as was the previous work plan.
I just had 2 comments, and Chris, you just stole the one because I was going to recommend that you post this on the EAC's page for easier public access. My second comment was just please give our thanks to the members of the EAC again. There's a lot of environmentally adjacent issues coming down the road in the next number of years. Some things reactive, some things proactive in terms of things like land preservation. So please pass along our thanks to Chairman Petroselli and the entire team for their continued work. But I will open it up to fellow comments from my fellow board members. All right, thank you very much, Chris. Moving on to agenda item 6, meeting minutes. 6A, the April 1st, 2026 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes have been distributed to the board. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board on those meeting minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said meeting minutes as presented?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 7, ordinances, 7A. We have an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, repealing ordinance number 1109, restating Chapter 274, Part 7, titled Sewer Lateral Inspection Program, and adopting regulations requiring the testing, repair, and replacement of sewers and sewer laterals for certain structures in the township, including existing non-residential buildings, and upon the resale of residential buildings, and to provide for remedies and penalties for noncompliance, severability, repealer, and effective date. And I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. So ordinance number 1109 was adopted in January 2026 and established a requirement that sewer laterals be inspected at the time of property transfer. So that program has been implemented, and Herb Bender and Michael Elias have been administering that program in accordance with the ordinance. Since the time that it's been adopted, however, we did notice there was some language that was inconsistent with the Municipal Code and Ordinance Compliance Act. Therefore, we did correct those issues, and the ordinance before you tonight would seeking a motion to advertise that ordinance, recognizing this was a brand new program for the township. There's sometimes necessary changes as you go through it. So I'd ask for an advertisement. Unless there's any questions, we can move forward, get those taken care of.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from members of the board on this advertised ordinance? I'll just add, Tom, I want to thank you, and despite whatever changes need to be made, I'd like to thank you and Herb for putting this together. The intent of the ordinance, given the age of a lot of our laterals in this township, is of the utmost importance. So again, I'd like to reiterate my thanks to you.
You're welcome, and thank you to Director of Legal Affairs, Jennifer Alder, for helping us with the revisions. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Jennifer. If there are no other board comments, are there comments or questions from members of the public or online? Seeing none, is there a motion to proceed with the advertising of said sewer lateral inspection program ordinance?
I'll make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker and a second from Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8, resolutions. 8A, we have a resolution to amend the fee schedule regarding administrative fees, construction permit fees, special and other permit fees, subdivision and land development fees, non-subdivision or land development fees, alarm fees, police department fees, public works fees, and parks and recreation fees, and to provide for a general repealer, severability clause, and effective date. And again, I would ask Tom Petrucci to please present.
Thank you. So the Board of Commissioners did adopt a schedule of fees earlier this year, which was conducted through Resolution 2026-31 at your reorganization meeting. So since that time, we've determined we need to amend that schedule of fees just in two areas. The first was under police department fees for the overtime rate would go from $85.67 per hour to $88.24 per hour. And then under the credit card processing fee structure, now that we have in-person payments here at the township, and we've changed our payments a little bit, the credit card processing fee. So in-person 2.65% with a $3 minimum fee, and online credit card, Venmo, PayPal is $3.39 per each $500, and then online e-check is $1.73 per each transaction. So there's no other changes to the fee schedule. I'd seek a motion to adopt as presented.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any board questions or comments on the fee schedule? Any from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution amending the township fee schedule?
Make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8B, a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan entitled Aesthetic Surgery Associates Medical Office Building. And I would ask our Director of Development, Mr. Kent Baird, to please present.
Thank you, Mr. President. For your consideration, the consideration of the board tonight, Houseman Partners LLC requests Board of Commissioners support for an extension of time to achieve the conditions of approval to build the medical office building to be located at 1619 Houseman Road. This is a project that was originally approved in May of 2024, and the applicant, I believe, has achieved all of the conditions of approval that would require engineering review. But tonight we have, on behalf of the applicant, Stephanie Cobal from Fitzpatrick, Lenz & Bova, to discuss a request to extend the timeline to November of this year, November 2026. Stephanie, please.
Attorney Coble, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Stephanie Coble here from Fitzpatrick Lentz and Buba. On behalf of the applicant 1619 Houseman Partners LLC, basically we're just here tonight to get an extension of time for 6 months. What is remaining, just by way of summary, are things like getting the agreement signed, getting the plan signed, posting security, posting insurance, things like that. All of the engineering comments have been worked through. In fact, the engineer for the project Bowler reached out to Mr. Tellerita's office this morning to confirm same. Nothing wrong with that. Just crossing the T's and dotting the I's on the final development aspects of this.
Thank you, Attorney Coble. Just one question. And I ask it of every applicant,
Right.
Similar issue. Do you and the applicant believe that 6 months will be enough to satisfy the remaining?
My belief is that 6 months should be enough, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the board? Any questions or comments from members on the public on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan, Aesthetic Surgery Associates Medical Office Building, and that would be a 6-month extension until November 1st, 2026. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Johns. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8C, we have a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan entitled Nestle Purina Allentown, PA Facility, New Municipal Water Service. And again, I'd ask Mr. Baird to please present.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, Nestle Purina requests Board of Commissioners approval of an extension of time to achieve those conditions of approval for a project that will occur in the road and leading to and on 2050 Pope Road. This is a project that was originally approved some time ago with a deadline of April 2026. Tonight, Stephanie Coble is also here to represent Nestle and discuss a request potentially to July of 2026 or with additional time as discussed tonight. So Stephanie, please, can you represent?
Stephanie Coble, Fitzpatrick Lentz and Buba, here on behalf of Nestle Purina Petco Company. This project is actually the opposite of the last project. So on this project, there's a few engineering cleanup things that we are working through with Mr. Tellerita. We do have our engineer here tonight from Barry Izett. If there's any questions specific to engineering, the legal documents have actually been worked out. We've delivered signed copies to the Township Director of Legal Affairs. I've delivered my opinion of title to her. The letter of credit has been posted. The insurance, we submitted the certificates. There's been a few comments. We're addressing those. I actually have them in my email inbox. They hit at about 5 o'clock, so I haven't sent them yet to the Director of Legal Affairs, but I will do so. So we're making good progress. We are asking for a 3-month extension in our request. To answer your question, which I think Mr. Roth, you will ask me if I think that's enough. I will tell you this, we are going to, it was suggested maybe 6 months would be better. Well, we will take 6 months, but I want to make 3 months happen. My client has the pedal to the metal on this and wants to get construction started during the warmer months of the year, understandably, given what this project is. So that would be where we are at, because as much as I like coming to the township and it's close to home for me, I don't necessarily want to come back and ask for another one. So 6 months is probably more appropriate, just to make sure. Again, I would prefer to finish it in under 3. So
unless there's any objection from other members of the board, I'm fine with a 6-month extension. It prevents the need for you to come back in 3 months and hopefully not have to, but might have to ask for an additional extension. So I'm fine with that unless there's any member of the board who would object.
And we are making good progress on this one.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from members of the board on this extension or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan, Nestle Purina Allentown, PA facility, new municipal water service, and that would be a 6-month extension. Is there a motion from the board?
Second.
Motion from Commissioner John, second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Best of luck.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Bender, for Public Works fixing the water main in my neighborhood so quickly last night.
Moving on to agenda item 8D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing staff to apply for a $500,000 grant to the PA Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, PA DCNR Community Conservation Partnership Program, to construct segments 35-40 of the Jordan Creek Greenway Trail. And again, I'll ask our long-range planner, Mr. Chris Stroller, to please present.
Thank you, Commissioner Roth. Over the past several years, the township has been working with the design firm Michael Baker International on design of the Jordan Creek Greenway through Covered Bridge Park and up to Parkland High School. That project was split into 2 phases for construction. The construction of phase 1 was completed in 2024, which went through Covered Bridge Park. This is the next phase of that across 3 private trail easements up to Parkland High School. The township is finalizing the permitting process and has submitted a grant to the PennDOT Transportation Alternatives Set-Aside Program for $1.5 million. That grant is still pending. We haven't heard about that. So through the permitting process, we have identified a couple increases as far as the cost estimates to make sure that we can cover any anticipated costs of this project and associated engineering. We are also requesting to apply for a DCNR grant application for $500,000 in addition to the $1.5 million. So we're not exactly sure what we may get from PennDOT at this point, but the application deadline is unfortunately approaching before we know about TASA. So we are requesting a resolution to submit the $500,000 to DCNR, and we will report back once we know more information about the TASA grant.
Thank you, Chris. Any comments or questions from members of the board? I'll have one. It's not related to this segment of the trail. Maybe Herb would be better to answer this. I was on the Greenway the other night, the first segment over there behind the dam, and right by the I-476 Northeast Extension overpass, there's a lot of what appears to be trimmed trees or branches. It looks like they've been thrown down on either side of the overpass, and there's some sediment across the trail. Do we know the source of those by any chance?
Yes, that is the Turnpike, who is evaluating, repairing, and replacing that bridge.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Herb. Any other questions or comments from the board or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution authorizing staff to apply for $500,000 to the PA DCNR Community Conservation Partnership Program to construct segments 35-40 of the Jordan Creek Greenway Trail?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8E, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving a memorandum of understanding between South Whitehall Township and the South Whitehall Township Bargaining Unit, representing full-time, non-managerial officers of the South Whitehall Township Police Department. And I'll ask our Township Manager, Mr. Tom Petrucci, to please present this item.
Thank you. So the township and Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom have mutually determined an identified need for continued cooperation regarding the use of sworn police officers in order to address identified traffic flow issues when the park experiences a high volume of visitors. So as outlined in the agreement, there would be up to six officers needed at identified peak dates and times during the operation of the amusement park complex, including the wet and dry parks. The officers will assist by providing traffic control services at the intersection of Hamilton Boulevard and Lincoln Avenue as a dedicated special voluntary assigned detail. These officers would be compensated at the holiday overtime rate. for all actual hours worked and would be subject to a general service agreement between the township and Dorney Park, which is also a resolution before you this evening as well. So just a couple of key items. The MOU would automatically terminate. So basically, in order to effectuate this agreement, we would need a memorandum of understanding between South Whitehall Township and the South Whitehall Township Police Bargaining Unit. So the key provisions of the MOU: first, it would automatically terminate in the event that the general service agreement would terminate for whatever reason. So that has to be in effect in order for this MOU to be in effect. And the MOU automatically sunsets at the end of December 31st, 2026. So it would only be in effect for this season on the dates and times as specified in the general services agreement. So this has been worked out between Township and the bargaining unit. Would seek a motion to approve as submitted.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board on this MOU agenda item? Any questions or comments from members of the public or online? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution approving an MOU between South Whitehall Township and the South Whitehall Township Bargaining Unit representing full-time, non-managerial officers of the Township's Police Department?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? A second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8F. We have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving a general services agreement between the South Whitehall Township Police Department and Millennium Operations LLC, Dorney Park, and Wildwater Kingdom. And again, I'll ask Tom Petrucci to please go over this agenda item, although he did reference it in his last summation.
Thank you. So yeah, this is the next step in the process in order to confirm all of the work that the police department will be doing for Dorney Park this year. And I want to stress that Dorney Park pays for all this, right? Like, so it's not the township general fund paying for these extra duties. So this general services agreement provides for up to 2 officers needed at peak dates and times throughout the amusement park complex. So that helps with maintaining the peace and security of Dorney Park. So those officers for this year would be paid at the now $88.24 amount per hour per the recently amended 2026 schedule of fees. And then also, as outlined in the previous agenda item, the 6 officers needed as delineated in the calendar for the traffic detail. So I would ask a motion to approve this agreement as submitted, which I will note also Dorney Park has already signed it.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Any from members of the public or online? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt said resolution approving a general services agreement between the South Whitehall Township Police Department and Millennium Operations LLC, doing businesses Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom?
A motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kelly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9A, we have a motion to proceed with the release of security in the amount of $66,223.69 for Montar Self-Storage Certification number 2, final certification. And I'll ask Mr. Baird to please present.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Tonight, TAC Allentown LLC has arrived at the moment that they'd like to request the last large chunk of their security for the storage facility that's located at 3354 Walbert Avenue, otherwise known as Extra Space Storage near the Target. They've been working on this project diligently since April 2023 when the board approved their project and plan. They've gone through the process of submitting their request to the engineers, and thanks to the review by Pitcock and Tony, we're now looking at their request as stated of $66,223.69, bringing their original security down to a remaining $22,510.31, which also represents the amount needed to go through their next 18 months of maintenance period. So we recommend that you consider this release.
Thank you, Ken. Before I open it up to board comments, I'll ask our township engineer, Tony Telluride, if you have any additional comments.
No, Ken did a great job, so we're comfortable with this release.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Any questions or comments from members of the public or online? Seeing none, is there a motion to proceed with the release of security in the amount of $66,223.69 for Montar Self-Storage Certification number 2?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9B, we have a motion to approve the following at Fernwood Park. This would be the replacement of the backstops at both baseball fields by anchor fencing and the resealing and striping of the basketball court by the Brenneman Company. And I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to please present.
Thank you. We're looking to improve the aesthetics of Fernwood Park by changing out the backstops that currently have some rusting issues on the fence. The bottom of the fence is curling up. It's bowed out in the middle. So it's time to repair the chain link fencing. We are going to continue to use the same poles that are there. They're just going to be sanded down and repainted black to match the black fencing at both backstops. So that price would be $21,770 for anchor fence for both backstops. And the basketball court, we're looking to get all the cracks filled in with fabric, resealed, restriped to give it more life, make it safer to play basketball without the cracks, rolling ankles and that. Public Works just did redo the backboards there this winter. They were taken down, completely sanded, recoated, and redone. And new rims were put on. So we're asking for an approval with the Brenneman Company for that, for $15,000 to redo the basketball court. So we're just looking for a motion to bring in both companies to do the work. Again, the backstops would not take place right away. We're looking just to lock the price. We would do it in between spring ball and fall ball. So there would be enough time for them to come in and get those done.
Excellent. Thank you, Herb. Any questions or comments from members of the board or from the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the replacement of the backstops at both baseball fields by anchor fencing and the resealing and striping of the basketball court by Brenneman Company at Fernwood Park?
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Last on our motions for this evening, agenda item 9C, we have a motion to authorize the township manager to submit letters of support to members of the Lehigh Valley Congressional Delegation in support of the Basics Act HR 7437. And I'll ask our township manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. So the Basics Act, which is at the House of Representatives, Bill number 7437, is a proposal designed to better align federal transportation funding with local infrastructure responsibilities. So it would, in theory, increase local access to federal formula funding programs, expand the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, provide dedicated funding access for locally owned and bridges and safety projects. It's important to note that local governments actually own and maintain over 75% of the nation's roadways and bridges, and carry approximately 34% of all vehicle traffic. So the idea of this is to strengthen the role of metropolitan planning organizations, which in the case of Lehigh County is Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, in project selection, and also to improve coordination between federal, state, and local governments. So I seek a motion to authorize the township manager to submit letters of support to the Lehigh Valley Congressional Delegation in support of the Basics Act.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions or comments from members of the board? I would just add this to me is a no-brainer. Whatever we can do to crack open our access to an increased share of federal funds and our regional planning agencies and transportation agencies is always something that we would like to see done more. So often there's so much money set aside at the federal level that doesn't trickle down to local communities, and the Basics Act, I think, would be a big help in seeing that come to fruition. So if there are no other, yes.
Can I just say that?
Absolutely.
In addition to, if this passes, I think I would like to encourage each of us to send our own individual letters of support. I already have submitted this. It's a non-bipartisan approach. And, you know, as everybody has just stated, this is really important to bring money back to our local municipality.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. The bill is co-sponsored, not currently by our congressman, but the congressman to our north. So the bill was certainly crafted with communities like those in northeastern Pennsylvania in mind. So any other board comments or comments from the public or online on this motion? Seeing none, is there a motion to authorize the township manager to submit letters of support to members of the congressional delegation in support of HR 7437?
Make a motion.
A motion from Commissioner Fellinger-Ricker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 10, correspondence and information items. I'd like to ask Tom Petrucci to go over agenda item 10A, boards and commissions, informational items and vacancies.
Thank you. So informational items are as follows. Meetings and events. So Wednesday, April 22nd, 10 a.m. is our pension committee meeting. Wednesday, April 22nd, 4 p.m. is our Earth Day event. You'll note that we are actually conducting this event on Earth Day. So it's the Plant for Spring, Air Cover Bridge Park. So I hope to see you there. Wednesday, April 22nd, 7 p.m. Zoning Hearing Board. Monday, April 27th, 6 p.m. the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission. Also on the same day, 7 p.m. Environmental Advisory Council. Monday, May 4th, 7 p.m. Public Safety Commission. Wednesday, May 6th, 10 a.m. Civil Service Commission. And Wednesday, May 6th, 7 p.m. back here for the Board of Commissioners meeting. I will indicate it's important to check the website because we have had to cancel some meetings due to applicants pulling things from the agenda, such as the case of the Planning Commission, and a lack of content for some other meetings. So please double check the website.
Thank you, Tom. Agenda item 11, courtesy of the floor. This is the second of two opportunities for members of the public to comment on non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board? Any online, Chris? Thank you. Seeing none, moving on to agenda item 12. At this time, I would seek a motion to authorize the payment of our invoices and disbursements.
Motion.
A motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. We have no executive session scheduled for the remainder of this evening. At this time, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Gronowski. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries 5-0. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.